Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, we come to the last session of Yusuf alayhi salam's story, and it's been several weeks we've gone through this, and you can see how much Allah Azza wa Jal has put in here for us to learn. And even then, what I'm saying to you is only the tip of the iceberg. What the Quran has is such an ocean that only on the Day of Judgment people will see the depths of the Quran. Only on the Day of Judgment Allah will reveal how much He actually put in the Quran. Before that, no matter how many mufassirin and how many people come to do tafsir of the Quran, they will not be able to get to the depth of the Quran. So we get to, and we've reached ayah number 92, where Yusuf alayhi salam, he's got his brothers in front of him, and he's revealed himself to them, and they are very regretful over what they did to him in the past. And Yusuf alayhi salam, then after revealing himself, they ask for forgiveness. And this is where he says, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. He prays for them and he asks Allah to forgive them, and he says that He's the most merciful of those who have mercy. Now, as I said to you last week, that to forgive someone just like that is not easy. And to be able to get to that state, to be able to forgive like that, you've got to be very close to Allah Azza wa Jal. See, the closer a person gets to Allah, the more their actions become of taqwa and of ihsan. And these two things, qualities Allah has mentioned about Yusuf alayhi salam in this surah. So the closer a person gets to Allah, the more they purify themselves, the more Allah gives them a God consciousness, a God awareness, that all the time they're thinking about Allah. And then they become of the muhsineen, which means that they are always doing things for Allah's sake, and they're trying to please Him in every deed that they're doing. So when it comes to this forgiveness, what went through the mind of Yusuf alayhi salam, which would be different to what went through our minds? This is what we need to learn from here. How is it that Yusuf alayhi salam, after being almost killed, after being left to die in the well, after going through years and years and years of sorrow and grief, and they say from the time that Yaqub alayhi salam lost him till the time Yaqub alayhi salam found him was 40 years, according to most of the mufassirin. 40 years. From the time he was young, so he was a little boy, we don't know how old exactly he was, till the time Yaqub alayhi salam is just about to find him, in the tafsir, now that we come into it, is 40 years. So 40 years of being away from his father, from his family, and he's just going to forgive all of it like that, and for him to be dragged into, taken into the well, and then to the prison, and then from there to the palace, and then another, imtihan, another whole fitna of the woman who was inside the palace. And all that he's just going to forgive just like that, just like that. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as I told you, in front of Makkah al-Mukarram, in front of the Kaaba, he was able to forgive all those thousands of people of Makkah, just like that. Now, how is that possible? Well, one of the things that these people who are the Anbiya alayhim salatu salam, and we need to learn from them, and thus, like them, their disciples and people who have got close to Allah have shown the same qualities. Which is that they see people and they see their actions, and they only see the madhar and the way that Allah is showing His power manifest on the earth. So when they see someone doing something bad, they only see that this person's doing something bad, and Allah Azza wa Jal is qadir, He has got full power over this person. They see that. They don't just see the person doing bad, they see that Allah has got full power over this person. Second thing they see is that Allah has got full power and full limits, as in there's no limits at all for Allah to forgive this person. And they see that this person who has hurt me and harmed me in the past, they did it at a time that the devil, the shaitan, was the one that twisted them, turned them, and made them do what they did, and prompted them to do what they did. And they see that he's a human, end of the day, and it was the devil that made him do that. If it was of his own conscience, and if it was him trying to do what he would want to do without the shaitan being there, most likely he wouldn't have done that to me. It was the shaitan that made him have jealousy in the beginning, and it was the shaitan that made him go against me. It was the shaitan that made him do that to me. So, they focus the whole of the evil elsewhere. And the good, they focus it on Allah Azza wa Jalla. Even if this person, today they're saying to me that they want forgiveness from me. After doing all of this, they see even that not as a pure act from themselves, but if it wasn't for Allah, they wouldn't even be able to do that good act. So any good thing that comes to the earth, they see it from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And any bad act, they see it from the shaitan. And they condition their mind to do this. So even when people annoy them, they see that as part of the devil's work. And even when they, whenever they come across any good, they see it not as a person's. No, I'm not saying that we don't have any control over ourselves. I'm not saying that. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you that we've got the aqidah of the Jabaris or the Qadaris. Now, what are the Jabaris and Qadaris? The Qadari, there's a group of people who came out of the Sahaba, they believed, these Qadaris believed that they have got 100% power over themselves. The humans believed, those humans who were Qadaris, they believed they had 100% power to do whatever they wanted to do. And they didn't see Allah's will in their own will. The Jabaris were the opposite. They saw 100% Allah is controlling them. And they have no power over themselves. And both of them were on error. Both of them were wrong. We as the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we as the believers who believe according to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, believe that there's a part of what Allah does to us in terms of His will, and there's a part that we have of our own will. We don't know how much is mixed in what, we don't know, but we do understand on this world that when we do an action, it is our own action, and we're responsible for that action. So yes, these brothers, they did something wrong, they're responsible for that. But behind it, Yusuf alayhi salam would see the devil. And these brothers today, they're asking me for forgiveness. It's their own doing, as in they are doing a good act of asking me for forgiveness. But Yusuf alayhi salam would not see that purely as their own act. He would see that the Rahman behind there, the one who's most merciful, puts mercy into their hearts, and because of that, they ask forgiveness from Him. Do you understand, guys? Yeah. So everything they see and everything they believe in is a purely different world. And that's how it's so easy to forgive them, because He sees them as people who deserve pity. These people yesterday, they thought they had might, and they didn't know, or they didn't see that Allah has all the might. These people yesterday, they thought that if they get rid of me, as in Yusuf alayhi salam, then they thought that I'd never Allah would not have a plan to bring me back up again. These people thought that because I saw the dream when I was young, that they'd be able to bury me in the well, and that dream would be finished off, and that I would not become the person who I am today. But they didn't see Allah's power. These people didn't see the time when I was in the well, and when I was in the well, Allah, remember that part when Allah said, I sent a message to Yusuf alayhi salam that one day you will be telling them about this. These people never saw that. So this is a prophet. And of course, people who follow the footsteps of prophets are able to start thinking like this. I'm not saying they become prophets, but they have this good thought. As in everything that happens, they see it happening for a reason. Every act that happens, they see the hikmah of Allah, the wisdom of Allah behind it. Everything else that happens, it's either the forgiveness of Allah, it's the rahmah of Allah, it's the rahmah or the mercy of Allah, or it's the intiqam, it's the revenge of Allah on the earth. Sometimes Allah uses one person to go against another person because that's His revenge. So even then, it's not always from the devil that these things happen. And we don't know. See, the thing is, we don't know for certain what is actually happening, but the Anbiya have taught us that what you do is you condition your mind always to think positive. And that's why it's such a central part of our belief to believe in qadr. We have 6 articles of faith. And most Muslims don't really go deep into the sixth article of faith. So we have, Iman Billah. And then we have, Iman, believe in Allah. And then His malaika, His angels. Then His kutub, His books, His rusul, His messengers. Wal yawm al-akhir, we believe in the last day. And then probably the most central one for us is qadr, bil khayri wa shar. We believe in Allah's fate, good and bad. Now what does that mean? We believe in that. We all believe in that as Muslims. You can't deny this. But most of us don't go deep into that. Qadr actually means that whatever happens, no matter good or bad, whatever it is I'm facing in life, whether it's family, see, this is his own family that have done this to him. He's still seeing good in that because he's trying to make a positive outcome from it. And even if it's evil, he sees that look, it's all coming from Allah for a reason. So when he was in the well, it came from Allah. When he was in the prison, it came from Allah. He spent 7 years in the prison, extra, for no reason. He sought it from Allah, that there's a good reason why I'm here. And there was a good reason, because when the king wanted him, and the king, take this shirt of mine. And he was wearing a shirt, he took that shirt off, and he said, take this shirt of mine and just throw it onto my father's face. You just throw it gently onto my father's face, my shirt. Ya'ti basira, he'll be able to see again. Wa'tuni bi ahlikum ajma'in, and bring all of your families, all of you, come to Misr and come to Egypt. Now, this is a very ajib and very strange part of the surah. And this is from the Quran, guys. And of course, this is a prophet and it's one of his miracles, but we've got to understand that, Allah Azza wa Jalla is teaching us so many things through this. There's going to be many, many things that we will learn from this. So, the first thing he tells them is, he gives them a shirt. Now, what is this shirt? This shirt is a shirt that he's wearing, that's according to a lot of the Mufassirin. Some have said that it's a shirt that was passed down from his forefather Ibrahim alayhi salam down to him. But I don't actually go along with that, because A, the narration is not strong, and B, the narration actually says that Ibrahim alayhi salam had a special, special garment which he made his son Ishaq alayhi salam wear, and then Ishaq alayhi salam, that special garment, when he was alive, he gave it to Yaqub and he made him wear it. And then Yaqub alayhi salam, he had this special garment, same one, and then he made Yusuf alayhi salam wear it, and that was the garment that Yusuf alayhi salam had. Now there's something problematic here. Tell me, what's problematic?
The size of the shirt.
Exactly. Thank you. There's a problem with the narration, because if Yaqub alayhi salam made Yusuf alayhi salam wear it, then Yusuf alayhi salam was a little boy at that time. He hasn't seen his father for 40 years. So how is he supposed to, wear a big, garment? So that's why I don't go with that. I wouldn't want to go with that narration, and it's weak anyway. What the other Mufassirin have said, and there's a large group of them, they've said that it is actually the shirt that Yusuf alayhi salam was wearing. Now, the shirt he's wearing, he's sending straight, and this is obviously from the wahi of Allah, from the revelation of Allah, that if he gives this shirt, and if he was to tell them to throw it onto the face of Yaqub alayhi salam, he'll be able to see again. Now what happens here, let's listen to the next part. Ayah number 95 of Surah Yusuf. وَلَمَّا فَصَلَتِ الْعِيرُ. What happens is that he's given the shirt goes into, the brothers take the shirt, and they say, okay, fine, they're thrilled, they're overjoyed. Yusuf alayhi salam has just forgiven them, and they can't wait to get to Sham, or to the greater sort of Syria, or we know as the small place where Jerusalem it is. They were there. They can't wait to get there and give the news that Yusuf alayhi salam is alive, and they've actually found him. And they're thinking, all sorts of things are going in their minds. They're thinking of the day when they threw him in the well, and now they're thinking, wow, our brother, Allah made him a king. Allah's made him the king of Egypt. This is our brother. And all sorts of thoughts are going in their mind about what they did when they were young, and how many times they lied to try and hide what they did to Yusuf, and then Binyamin, and now they were wrong, and they're very sorrowful. And now these brothers have really changed. They've really made a big change in themselves. But they can't wait to get to Jerusalem to give this news to Yaqub alayhi salam, their father. Now they're on the caravan. They're just leaving Misr. They're just leaving Egypt. Now if you look at the map, from Egypt, today it's not very far, okay? Today you're just going to get a little plane, there, and then it's all done. Done and dusted, yeah. Those days you have to get onto, camels, and then you have to cross that entire part from Misr, from, you look at the map, how far it is to go by camel all the way across all those countries, go through what current Jordan is, go all the way to where current Jerusalem is, and they've got to go and meet their father there. So they're just leaving from there. And over here, as they're leaving, Yaqub alayhi salam is in Jerusalem. And he says to the people around him, he says, if you guys don't think that I've become so old that I'm starting to say things that don't make sense, if you think, because sometimes, old people, they get to a stage in life when they start saying things and they're blabbering on about their life and about their past. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't make sense, and sometimes they exaggerate, sometimes they go on and on and on and on about their feelings. This happens to some old people. Now guys, if you want to prevent yourself from this, from speaking like this or losing your memory in old age, there's a way, and it's according to a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Hakim, which is the one who recites the Quran, then when he gets to old age, then Allah will save him from this calamity. It's a calamity, it's an illness that you start to forget, or you start blabbering on or talking about things that don't make sense. So if you recite Quran every day, inshallah, this will not be the case for you. So he's saying to the people around him that if you guys don't think that I've become so old that I'm just blabbering on and saying stuff, then I'm telling you now that I can definitely smell the fragrance of Yusuf. Now can you imagine an old guy who's lost his son for 40 years, who's been crying every single day and saying, Yusuf, Yusuf, Yusuf. And now in his old age, he's saying, if you guys don't think I'm getting too old, I'm going to say this. I can smell Yusuf. They're going to think, man, it's getting to his head now. The old man is getting to his head now. He can smell Yusuf. He can smell the fragrance of Yusuf. La ilaha illallah. They said, Wallahi, they swore by Allah, إِنَّكَ لَفِي ضَلَالِكَ الْقَدِيمِ. You're completely lost in your emotions. You've completely lost your mind. Now they're thinking that, how can you still go on about Yusuf? Now of course, if the people who were around him, they didn't want to, they didn't want to disrespect him in some way. They didn't want to, there weren't people who were denying him being a prophet or something. No, it wasn't that. They were just thinking that, he just got to a certain age that he just gone beyond him now. Yeah. They weren't saying in a rude way, but they were just saying that, look, we feel sorry for you. You've just been going on about Yusuf so much that now you can even smell him. Right? You can even smell his fragrance. Right? So what happens is that in the next ayah number 96, the one who came with the good news came straight away, and he came with the shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he throws it. He throws it, and as it comes and it reaches the face of Yaqub alayhi salam, no sooner did it touch his face, no sooner did he actually smell the strong fragrance of Yusuf alayhi salam, that by the time the shirt left his face, he was completely seeing again. Allahu Akbar. He was seeing 100% again, and the whiteness of his eyes disappeared and they became dark again within a second. And he then says, Alam aqul lakum, did I not tell you, Lord? Inni a'lam min Allah ma la ta'lam. Didn't I tell you guys that I know things from Allah which you don't know? Now, there's a lot of lessons here. The biggest thing is here, subhanallah, how is it here that for 40 years this man doesn't know where his son is? He can't smell him even when he was in the well just outside the house, maybe a mile, 2 miles away, whatever, however far it was. Yeah. When Yusuf alayhi salam, that night he was in the well, if Yaqub alayhi salam could sense his son, why is it that he didn't smell him then? Why is it that he didn't smell his fragrance the next day when he was taken out and the whole caravan starts taking him to Misr? Why is it that for 40 years he can't smell him while he's actually in Misr, in Egypt, and he's been traded and gone to prison or whatever else it is, he can't smell him. And now today, when he didn't smell Yusuf alayhi salam's clothing, when it came to Jerusalem, he smelt it from Misr when they were just leaving. How? Now what we learn from here is that the one who is the giver of miracles is who? Allah. And the one who controls the miracle is Allah. And even when you have awliya of Allah, when you have the people who are close to Allah, they have karama. We believe in the karama. There are people who Allah gives them certain, what we call, little miracles. They're not things that you become, you can prove to become a prophet by, but Allah shows through His bounty that He can make His close ones have certain things that, you think, how is this possible? Like, I'll give you an example. It's like the miracle of the boys that went into the cave. Right? It was a miracle. It was a small miracle. They weren't prophets. They were not prophets. But it's a karama. They went in the cave and they stayed there for 300 odd years. It's a karama. Allah described it in the Quran. That's a karama. Another one is Maryam radiallahu anha. She's in the chamber. Zakaria alayhi salam has locked her in the chamber. He's closed the chamber. He's locked it. Nobody else has got the key to go inside. And Zakaria alayhi salam knows that she hasn't got anything else to do except just to worship Allah in the chamber. And then he comes back. Nobody else can go in or come out. Right? He comes, he opens the door, and he goes inside, and he sees Maryam radiallahu anha. She is sitting there, she's eating grapes. Now where did she get grapes from? So and grapes are this, he's thinking that it's not even the season of grapes. That's the most miraculous thing. He's thinking that even if somebody came and tried to give Maryam grapes, then they can't even give her grapes because there's no grapes anywhere in the lands across the whole of that area, nowhere. There's no grapes. It's not like today, you can buy, straight away and cargo it across, right? There's no possibility of grapes coming. So he says, Anna laki hada. Where did you get these grapes from? She says, Huwa min indillah. Allah gave me. Allah gave me. He created grapes right here and I'm eating from the grapes. Allahu Akbar. We know from the hadith of Bukhari, Khabbab radiallahu anhu, when he was caught by the Meccan people. This is in Bukhari, Sahih hadith in Bukhari. When he was caught by the enemies in Mecca and they imprisoned him and they were about to execute him, and they say there was a drought in Mecca at that time and they did not even have water in Mecca, and Khabbab radiallahu anhu is tied with chains and he's in a room, he's not given any food, and Allahu Akbar, the woman who's in the house, she walks in and she's shocked. She sees that Khabbab is eating grapes. Khabbab is eating grapes. They got no water. He's eating grapes. Allahu Akbar. And she says, Wallahi, we don't have any even water, and I saw Khabbab eating grapes. There's no way that can come to him except from Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is again a karama. We believe in the karama of the people who are close to Allah. So anyway, my point is, whether it's a karama of a wali of Allah, whether it's a prophet himself, Allah is the one that controls it. So you can have a karama right now and you're able to know something, but when Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't want you to know something, He can be right next to you, you don't even know. The controller is Allah. So one thing it teaches us to be humble, that if you've ever experienced anything good, like I'm sure you guys, like last week I asked you guys how many people have been in a situation where you made dua and your dua was answered, and many of you put your hands up. That's a small type of karama as well. That's, Allah loved you on that occasion. Whether you want to call yourself for that occasion close to Allah or not, Allah loved you for a reason. And He made you show that, He brought you to a situation where you couldn't get out, and then Allah gives you something. And it's things Allah reveals to people. But what you've got to understand is, there is no way anybody can say that is from themselves. It is only from Allah. And the second thing is that only Allah Azza wa Jalla, He controls it. So we shouldn't big ourselves up or think great of ourselves. That's another thing. And another thing is that these things, when Allah doesn't want it to happen, it will not happen. You can beseech Allah as much as you want. Yaqub alayhi salam is there 40 years. He's asking Allah, my Yusuf, oh Allah, give my Yusuf, oh Allah, I'm grieved inside. 40 years Allah doesn't even give him a fragrance of, not even the fragrance of Yusuf. Nothing. Just leaves him there for 40 years. And then on the 40th, after 40 years, when He wants to give him the bashara, when He wants to give him the good news, Allah makes him smell it from Misr. That it's coming. That the whole fragrance comes all the way to his nose. Allahu Akbar. Now, this is Allah Azza wa Jalla doing that. Now, what does it mean for us? It means that you could make a dua to Allah, and if Allah doesn't answer it, please don't sit there and blame Allah or say that you're a bad person. Some people do this. Some people either they blame Allah, they say, look, I made dua so many times, Allah is not answering my dua. Who in the world are you, man? When did you start ruling the earth? When did you start saying that this is your kingdom? It's Allah's kingdom. Let Him choose when He wants to do what. And He'll reveal to you on the Day of Judgment why He delayed your dua for so long. But anyway, the other thing people do is they blame themselves. They say, I must be a bad person. That's why Allah didn't answer my dua. No, hang on a minute. 40 years Yaqub alayhi salam is doing the same dua and he's not getting an answer. But he doesn't give up. The first words he said to his sons, he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. And the last words he said when they came with the news that Binyamin is gone, he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. I'm still going to make a very good patient, a good patience to Allah. I'm going to show that. The first thing he said, وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. He said, Allah is the one that I seek help from for everything that you're saying. He stood on to that and he's still saying that. And Allah shows Iman through what? Iman is not something which you try and test out once, twice, 3 times and then give up. That's not Iman. The power of Iman is there. But for Allah to make it work, it's up to Allah when He makes it work. Dua is something we believe in and we know Allah can answer du'as. But the thing is, we have to be people who, we have to be people with patience. It's up to Allah what He wants to do. My faith is there. It's like you having a match or something, right? And you're trying to light it. If it doesn't light, it doesn't mean that it's not working. You're probably not putting onto the right surface. Even if you put it on the right surface, let's say you put one match. Sometimes it happens. You've got a whole box of matches. And you take one match out. They're all dry. They're all completely fine. You take one match out and you strike it. And it burns out. Next one, strike it. It burns out. Next one, strike it. Burns out. And you think, man, I've only got 3 here. La ilaha illallah. And the next one you take it, burns out. Man, you think the next one I've got to be really careful. Yeah, because I've only got 2 left. And it glows a bit, and the wind blows it out. Okay, I've only got 1 left. Yeah. If Allah wants to show you that, He can show you that you can have a box of matches, you can go through all of them. You won't light anything if Allah wants to blow it out, right? But the last one probably just works. And there's people who doubt things because of the way, the doubt is in yourself, my friend. The doubt is not in the real thing, all right? So, for example, let me give you a quick incident, right? I had this colleague of mine, he said, Allah shows you sometimes some things, yeah, subhanAllah, in a moment that just makes you believe, you know what, I'm being silly here, right? So this colleague of mine said once, he said, he was in his car and he's trying to start his car and his car won't start. And his son's next to him in the car. So he's trying to start his car again, his car won't start. And he's getting frustrated, he's trying to start his car again. And it won't start, he bang the steering wheel. He's trying to start his car again, it's not starting. And his son said, Dad, what are you doing? He said, it won't start. He said, Dad, look, just say Bismillah. He said, Bismillah, and his son put his hand there and it started. Allahu Akbar. and can you imagine that happens to you? You think, you're the dad, you think, okay, son. Okay. When did he become a wali of Allah? But it makes you think. I remember once as an imam, I had a problem, and it was a deep problem, a deep crisis. And I just turned to Allah Azza wa Jal. But sometimes what happens is that you think, man, why is this the situation here like this and people are getting away with what they're doing? So I was in a particular place where this common man, mashallah, alhamdulillah, he comes to the masjid, he prays and so on. Common man, no beard, no nothing. The way he said it to me struck me in my mind. He said to me, Imam, he said, Allah is here. As in, Allah is watching everything. So it was a situation where I was a bit frustrated why these people doing what they're doing and they're getting away with it and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into the whole episode. But the way he said, Allah is the one that does something. And he hit me. I thought, SubhanAllah, these are the kind of things I say. But sometimes you need to hear it the other way around for it to hit you and think, you know what, I need to get on and keep my du'as going and keep my iman, revolving around, because Allah will do it in the end. And alhamdulillah, it worked out. The thing that I had the problem, you just stick with Allah, sometimes even your Bismillah might not work. You might say Bismillah, and it didn't work. You think, now Bismillah is not working. What do you do now? Ayatul Kursi? Thing is, you say Bismillah, doesn't work, say Bismillah again, doesn't work, say Bismillah again and put your faith into it. You just have to carry on. Like Yaqub, I said, 40 years, he's making same dua. One day Allah answered it. One day Allah answered it. So anyway, that's one thing.